What is up, guys? Welcome to another Bass Lane podcast. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a very special guest tonight, and I think I say that every time, but this guest really is special. This guy has made some amazing products and has come up with some really innovative and unique designs for some really great baits that actually catch fish. And I'm really excited for this one. We're going to get into how the process works, designing, producing, manufacturing, all the good stuff that you don't really hear about from the major bait companies. But this guy, he knows all about it. He's done it, and he's been very successful at it. And we only
What's up, Presley? I see I'm live now. Hello, everybody.
Yep.
I see some. We're getting broken up a little bit, so
Is it lagging a little bit?
just a little bit. But hey, I missed my intro. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Good to see you, Presley.
It's good to see you too, man. It's okay. Everybody
Oh, hey,
everybody misses an intro every now and then, right?
hey, that's how fishing is, man. You gotta work with it. Make
Yeah.
make it happen.
That's right. Miss a hook set every now and then too, right?
Well, how's it going, man?
It's good. Good. Just getting the high school season kicked off, and y'all have a tournament actually this weekend, don't you?
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah,
what
well,
tournament is that?
Anchored by Grace Fishing League. It's
Okay.
our 2-day fish off out of Dayton and Chickamauga. So.
What are you thinking about it? Is it going to be good? Going to be
Oh
tough?
yeah, it's gonna be good. They're biting. I know that people want to throw frogs, but still pretty warm. So I got some things up my sleeve that I'm gonna be throwing.
Some,
So
some sneaky stuff.
well, not too sneaky. If you look at my website, you'll be able to see a few.
There might be a couple things on there.
This might be one of them.
Maybe. So tell us a little bit about that. What do you got in your hand right there?
Oh, that's my big swim bait. It's called the Thresher 6.5. And
Okay.
so I designed it to be just a big, you can throw it single, big swim bait. It's got this extra little kicker at the end, gives it extra flash, extra water movement, gives it a little different look to it. Yep. And that right there is my olive shad color. That's a great color too. I'll be throwing both of them depending on water clarity. If it's a little dirtier, I'll throw the pure white, give more like an old hickory color lake.
Right.
If it's a little cleaner, I'll do that olive shad, get a little natural presentation. So,
So tell us a little bit about the tail on the back, the little kicker. What's
okay,
the
so
thought behind that?
what I wanted to do is if you get into talking to me and looking at my baits, I usually design it for more than one purpose. Okay. So initially, what I wanted to do is be able to burn it across the top. And you add that little extra on the top, it's going to give you more of a wake bait. So you can actually burn this like a topwater. Also, for a while there, it got really big was the big scrounger heads,
Yeah.
but you had to throw a straight tail.
Right.
So I designed this to be able, you can pinch and peel the paddle tail off. So it gives you a straight tail.
So you've got just the straight
Yep.
little shad profile.
Yep. So you literally can just, I could right now, I don't want to right now, but I could right now just pinch
Without the
this
kicker.
and peel off the paddle tail. And then you would just have this straight tail right here.
Right. Yeah.
Another thing is that you can trim it. If you look at it, there's little lines there. You can trim it to change how much water it moves. And but yeah, I designed it for skipping. It's a good idea to skip it under docks. You can burn it, it won't roll over. You just got, and I designed it for like, if you're going to do like a belly weighted hook for a 7/0, I put a big screw lock in there to really pin the nose on it and just like a flashy type here.
Do you like the underspin with a blade or without a blade, or just depends?
If it's thicker weeds, it's usually better without. If you're trying to go through like more slop mats and hit open holes, you probably should do it you can either do a real small belly weight without the blade. But if I'm skipping around docks or if I'm doing lily pads where it doesn't have the gunk that'll build up, you know how it is when you get the
Oh
gunk
yeah.
on the swivel.
Yep. It's
Um,
annoying.
and but this time of year with the little fry and stuff moving, it's not a bad idea to have that little blade flashing as much
For
as
sure.
possible. It might get their attention, and then they see a big offering. So
Definitely.
sometimes you match the hatch for size, which I mean that's key. But sometimes you put a big bait in their face, they don't mind that.
Especially the big ones.
Yeah, that's right. And hey, that's what we go for, right, Presley?
Always
That's
looking
what
for a big one.
you keep putting those big ones on the scales. I'm watching you.
Trying to with the help of some striker 4.0s. That's my go-to.
Hey, oh yeah, you like the little guy right there?
Oh yeah, that's the juice.
That's the juice.
That's
So,
the juice. Talking about the 4.0, that is by far. I mean, that bait right there catches so many fish for me, and it's right there to me. It's right there in between, a straight-tailed Ned that just sits there like that, but it's also it's not like a 5 or 6 inch Senko. It's right there in the middle. It's like the perfect mid-size. You've still got some action, and you've still got some flash, and all the good stuff makes it look like a natural bait fish, or a little worm or whatever it might be imitating. So, John, we've got the 4.0 right there on the screen. Explain to us a little bit about how you designed it and the purpose of each little feature that this bait has, because it has some little things that make it excel compared to other baits.
All right. Well, we'll start at the top. So, of course, I give you about a 1/4 inch at the top for your rigging.
Right.
So it can kind of give you a lineup if you're doing like a little wide gap hook. So, this I actually designed this bait to fit this little Ned rig. It's a Ned head, but it's got a wide gap. So I call it the wide gap Ned head. So really, you hit it. This is like a finesse shaky head when it comes down to it. That's kind of what it is. And of course, you can use it on the drop shot as well. But the way I designed it was to fit that perfectly. And actually, a 3/0 hook, wide gap 3/0 hook, is about as big as you can put in that. And that's for guys. I know guys that love to flip this. I know it's crazy, but I wanted to make sure they could at least get a 3/0 in there, because you're flipping in some heavy cover. You don't want a light wire 2/0 when you're trying to pull a 6-pounder out of a bush.
Definitely.
Okay?
Definitely.
So if you look at this, you can even see where it starts to bend, right? So I started it. The first section is ribbed, and then I transitioned to ringed. And my plastic has no salt, so it's buoyant, but I wanted to make sure I could use pretty durable plastic. But then the way you get the action is how you design the bait. So when you transition from the rib to the ring, that's your transition point where you go from the thicker plastic to the thinner. So when I let this go, you can see where it starts to make the drop down. And that's where you get your action without compromising the strength of the plastic.
Right. You've got the solid body for the hook, but you still have the action on the other side of it.
And I started off with I wanted to sell it with the wide gap Ned head, because this is a workhorse. You can throw it in the brush piles. You can drag it on the rocks. You can flip it around docks and wood, and you can attest to that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's just a little workhorse. And I knew that a lot of you guys, your Mount Juliet fishing team, Sumner County fishing team, all the high school kids, if it was your first day in the boat, you could tie this on and throw it places without getting hung up all the time and get bites.
Definitely.
And I knew a lot of you guys were going to lakes you'd never been to.
Yes.
So if you got a bait like this and you get bites, what does that give you?
Versatility,
and it gives you guys confidence.
Definitely. That's a big one.
Because you go to a lake you've never been to, you start getting bites, and you're like, okay, we can do this.
Yep.
All right.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. I mean, I've taken the 4.0 and I've caught them in Saginaw Bay, Michigan. I've caught them in Harris Chain, Florida, Okeechobee, Florida. I mean, it is literally one of those baits that you can take anywhere. Lake Hartwell, South Carolina, Lake, Alabama. I mean, literally, it's a bait that you can take anywhere, and you can rig it so many different ways. That's what I love about it. It's so versatile, and pretty much all of your baits are like that too. Like this different things that you can do with them.
Yeah. One thing I used to use a lot, and I still do. Have you heard of the KVD scent sticks?
Does it look like chapstick?
Yes, like a
Yeah,
big chapstick, right?
yeah, yeah.
I know there's a lot of stuff that's come out with scents, but one thing I always had in mind was if I could cover up scents. Not so much scents that they're like, "Oh, yum, I got to eat it." It's more like that doesn't smell like gas. You know what I mean?
Right.
After you
Yeah.
pump after you pump your boat full of gas, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you look at it, the ribs are important to me. Number one, you can you can rub that scent stick on there, and it just gives it more places for the scent to stick at.
So it kind of gets in the crevices
Yeah,
where it's not just gonna rub off after 2 or 3
right,
casts.
right.
Okay.
And if you look here, the ribs too, I got it text pose. And for those who are watching, what that means is you got this hook right here. If you leave it out like this, you're probably going to get snagged a little more. Okay. It does help with the hook ratio, but if you're going to throw it around weeds and stuff, you can pull it up and put it in one of those ribs. And now your text pose where the hook is still can come out, but it's not sticking way out. So that was important to me too with those ribs.
For sure. Definitely makes it a lot more weedless.
And again, you know Captain Ron Holt. I mean, he's been a day one for me, and he's had a lot of different people on his boats. And if
He
they've
has.
never
Yeah.
fished before, Mr. Captain Ron Holt puts this on their line, and he says, "Throw it out there and let it work,
That's
and
right.
make catch some fish." Right?
Yes. I mean, like we saw, I don't remember if it was Brooks or Dalen. They just posted on Instagram,
Yep.
like, talking about I think it was the 4.0,
Hmm.
and I hear them talk about it. They're like, "This thing catches fish," and Ron, he knows that.
Right.
And every time I talk to him, he's like, "Yeah, I had to get some more 4.0s and some Ned heads. I ran out." And I'm like, "Ron, you just ordered 150 last week."
And he,
It's
hey,
crazy.
he doesn't hoard it. He gives them to people.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, I was out there fishing on Old Hickory, and all of a sudden I heard this, "Hey, John Nelson." There's Ron with his family hanging out. Well, there was another boat there, and he's like, "Hey, all those lures I just gave you, that's the guy that owns them."
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
So he
So
literally was giving a guy baits as he was swimming, basically.
oh my goodness.
And
That
that's,
sounds just like Ron.
yeah. Your
Just like
dad actually said, "I need to make him a shirt that says Striker 4.0 for life."
you need to. I think he would wear it to every tournament.
Hey, give us a bunch of likes here on this video, and I'll make a shirt for Captain Ron Holt, Striker 4.0 for life.
We need to make that happen. Y'all
Yeah,
like this video because we need to get him a shirt.
yeah. But hey, real quick, getting back to this,
Yep.
this is an old school thing. When you have so when it transitions from the ribs to the rings will hold oxygen and it'll release bubbles, and so it'll give it more buoyancy. And it also, like I said, release bubbles. Like if it were a crayfish digging up the bottom, or
Right.
bluegill scurrying and it's
Yep.
releasing gases from the bottom of the lake. So
Yep. What colors do you have in the 4.0? What all options do you have?
this is your mean green. Mean green's like a sharp watermelon seed. I do have a Good Morning. I don't have them with me right now. Good Morning is much like a Morning Dawn. It's a pink and a blue. And I say if you fish with that, you'll have a good morning. And then you had it up earlier. It's called the Lazy Gill, and that's been one of my number one sellers.
Yes, that is. I think that's probably my new favorite. It used to be mean green, but Lazy Gill is a staple.
Lazy Gill is a color. I saw the Magic Craw. It's like a watermelon with a blue flash.
Yes.
But I wanted a little more contrast, so I wanted to take my green pumpkin, which I make a little more brown. I give it a more of a deeper color, and
Yep.
I could talk about that later. It's some reasons for that, but I wanted a contrast of a dark green pumpkin and then that blue flash, because it's just a good contrast. You can get some crawl looks out of it depending on what crawfish is looking like in that lake, or a bluegill flash. I mean, it does its thing. And then my last one is just a green pumpkin. Can't go wrong with that. So
it's a staple. It catches them everywhere.
But just the finish up about the design, I have a little teardrop at the end of the stinger.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that right there.
Can't even hold it still here. That just gives that just a tad bit more weight. And actually, I don't know if you've seen this before, but if you wind it in slow, it'll actually swim.
Yes. So one of the many different ways that I figured out you can rig this thing is on the back of a chatterbait.
You got it. Yes, sir.
I saw that file and I was like, he knows what I'm about to say.
Yeah. Let me tell you, kayak fishermen, they love it on a chatterbait. Because you can go down to that finesse chatterbait. You throw yourself like a green pumpkin chatterbait with that lazy gill as a trailer.
Yep. So speaking of kayak fishermen, you have a kayak fisherman on your pro staff, right?
Yes, sir.
And who is that?
It's Ethan Jett.
He's a hammer.
Yes, he is.
And actually, we have Ethan Jett backstage.
Uh-oh.
What's up, Ethan?
What's up?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Snuck him in there.
Yeah.
I had a feeling when I saw your post, some special guest was going to be here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't realize he didn't tell you, so I went ahead and posted, and then he told me he didn't tell you. I was like, oh, crap.
Well, the way you said special guest, I was like, I got to think of someone he really cares about in life, or it's him.
Yeah.
So, Ethan, you are a promoter of Torn Outdoors. You throw Torn Outdoors baits. What, as a kayak fisherman, what is your favorite bait to use that would excel like precisely to kayak guys that wouldn't necessarily be like perfect for any other situation?
I love the Thresher series, and because he already talked about it, you can tear that tail off, and you'll have a fluke. You can have a scrounger head and a swim bait all in one package. And in a kayak, you're limited to space.
Right. Yep.
And it's nice to have one pack of swim baits that you can throw in all three different situations like that. That's my go-to and my favorite.
That makes sense because it's not like you have, a 21-foot bass boat. You don't have, you can't carry 50 boxes and have all this different stuff. So you have kind of like a Swiss Army knife, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. And Ethan, you just finished up a tournament here recently. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about that.
I am the 2023 Tennessee Bass Nation champion, and I don't go anywhere without it.
Oh man,
Yeah,
there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
So
Let's go.
Torn Outdoor Baits has been a big part of my success. Through I think about 2 years I've been with you, John, and I would not have been able to win anywhere close to that without your baits, without Torn. So
where was that tournament at?
That was at Lake Guntersville.
Okay.
The Big G.
Big G.
Yeah.
That lake's been on fire here recently. I've seen a lot of good bags caught out there.
It's been fishing the best it has ever done, for me at least, since I started fishing about 5-6 years ago. It's really turning on.
Yeah, for sure. What was I know kayak's a little bit different, you don't go by weight, but how many is it? It's inches, right?
Yes, yeah, it's inches.
How many inches of fish did you have?
I had a 2-day total of 188 inches. That's 10 fish. So that's a good, I'm not a boat guy, so it's probably close to 25 pounds every day.
Really?
Yeah.
It's wild. So you do, it's a 5 fish limit each day of your best 5.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's a good bag of fish.
Yeah. It was probably the best I've ever had in a 2-day tournament.
Wow. What was second and third place?
I can't. Oh, second place was a 1/4 inch behind me.
Wow.
Yes, it was tight.
Wow.
I don't know what third place was, but What
Man,
was kind of funny about that tournament, 2 weeks before, I won second place at a native no limits, fishing the same place.
really?
Jordan Marshall, who finished first in that tournament, finished second in the Bass Nation. So we just flip flopped.
Y'all just flopped.
Yeah,
Wow. Came out on top the second time.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, Ethan.
Well, thank
Thanks
you
for
for
hopping
having me.
on. Yes,
Yep.
sir. Thanks for sharing, just your little tip about kayak fishing and why Torrent excels for that specifically.
Well, thank you.
All right, man. And y'all go
Appreciate
follow Ethan on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
It's just Ethan Jet Fishing, right?
Facebook, it's Ethan Jet, and then
Okay.
Instagram's Ethan_Jet_fishing.
Yep. Go give this guy a follow. He's snatching him up. He has some pretty cool posts, and you can learn more about Torrent on his posts too. Posting about it all the time. Thanks you again for joining us, Ethan.
Thank y'all.
See you then.
Weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I wasn't. Like I said, I saw his post and I was like, I wonder who that special guest is. But
That's great.
hey, the rest of the story is he actually is competing at 10 Killer,
Okay.
and they're gonna walk the stage at the Bassmaster Classic.
Really?
Yep. So
Wow.
Torn Outdoors will be represented on the Classic stage this year. So it's gonna be pretty cool.
The biggest stage in bass fishing.
Yeah, and it's actually the second time because Brady Duncan was representing Torn Outdoors when he came back his freshman year in college to fish the high school championship.
Okay.
So
Wow.
that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I was
How
going to
did
show you real quick what he was talking about. So here's my Thresher 4.2, just like the 6.5. It's got the paddle tail.
Yep.
And then here it is when you pull the paddle tail off.
So it's almost like a fluke in
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah.
Okay. And whenever you take that paddle tail off, what is your favorite way to rig it like that?
You know what? I like the donkey rig.
Oh, okay.
So the double fluke.
Right.
So, and when I was up in Wisconsin, I was catching smallies and largemouth with it, but I just put two of them on there. One hangs. I usually separate them by like 4 or 5 inches. And the donkey rig has, I don't know if I have time to describe it, but it basically, you got 2 flukes and then you just kind of let it snap it and they just dart
kind
back.
of zigzag a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to have that thing tied on for this weekend.
This weekend. Okay. Okay. How well, this is just a complete curiosity question, without being salt in all of your lures, how well does the Thresher sink being on a donkey rig? So like, how does it sit in the water?
Okay, so it depends on what you're trying to do. If you think they're coming up more and the bait is high, it'll just, you let it sit for a little bit. It's going to give you about a half a foot, and it'll take a little time depending on what kind of hooks you're going to use. If you're using like a wide gap that's a little thicker, you're going to sink a little bit more. Okay. I also suggest putting a belly weight on one of them.
Help get it down there a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. What size belly weight do you usually throw?
It varies. I'm probably gonna do something like an 1/8 ounce, not much.
Okay.
Not much at all. I forgot which one it is. I think it's VMC that does a little screw lock with just like a little cylinder belly weighted hook. But I've really had no problem with just using weightless. I just don't use real thin wire. And you got to make sure you're matching the right gear then if you're using a little thicker hooks.
Right.
But I like to get them down. And like I said, if you just do little snaps and just let it sit for a second. And again, I'm usually targeting fish that if you got weeds coming up about within a foot to the top, or if there's holes in the weeds.
Yep.
Or if you're alongside a dock.
Okay.
Like boat slips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm usually looking for fish that are willing to come up to the top.
Gotcha.
If I got to wait for it to go way down, I'll probably do more of like a swim bait, single-headed swim bait, or even a jerk bait or something.
Okay. And I'm sure you catch some. I mean, a fluke is known to catch some pretty solid fish. And that
Oh,
donkey rig is, I think a donkey rig honestly gets overlooked a lot. It's
oh yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah.
not a very utilized bait
Mm,
or technique, I should say, but it's a fish catcher, especially this time of year with grass coming up and
mhm.
fishing grass lines, and the bait getting pushed up in the
Yep.
grass, and the bluegill too. And what are the different colors you have in the 4.2?
So we have just your staple white, which is my number one seller. Then I have the olive shad, which is that greenback. I might have a couple here. Give me a second here. I got a few here. I got the olive shad. It has
Yep.
kind of greenback with a silver pearl on the belly.
Yep.
And then I have the royalty, which actually has purple flake in it.
Okay. So it's really translucent on the top there.
Yeah, that's for your pure waters. And then I have what's called blue lightning, which is a blue on top and a chartreuse belly.
Okay.
And there's a few guys that had a BFL out Dale Hollow, and that really smoked them.
Oh yeah,
Sometimes bright colors and clear water will make things happen.
for sure. And I've had a lot of luck with the 4.2 on a chatterbait too.
Mm-hmm.
And not even just with the paddle tail, but even peeling the tail off and putting it on a chatterbait, it just it just quivers. It's kind of like the 4.0 too.
Right.
And that's
sorry. Actually, we had a guy just finish, Brandon Adele. He just finished third in the BFL Super Tournament at Old Hickory.
Okay.
And that's the way he throws it. He throws the Thresher 4.2 on the chatterbait, even with the paddle.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I was a scrounger fisherman for many years.
Really?
And I knew paddle tails are no good for scrounger.
Yep.
So that was I was thinking about that when I made this bait, because I peel that paddle tail off and you got a perfect stick bait for a scrounger.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Again, Swiss Army knife.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at them, they have the little slits in the belly and the top.
Yep.
They're not deep, so there's plenty of plastic to work on if you're trying to put on something with a big collar. You're not going to tear it open all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
There's enough meat in there to do a screw lock and to even have a bigger collar. So that can lead into a little plug here for my buddy Wade Werner. He's got Thunder Rocket Lures.
Yep.
And we actually did a collaboration when he first released with his A-Rig and with the Threshers.
Yep.
We sold out in like a week.
I don't doubt it.
But there's been something that's been being used lately in the BFLs and some ABAs and in my boat, and it's actually called the Thunder Buzz. And so what it is, it's a buzz bait with actually the Thunder Rocket on the back. And as you can see, I got the Thresher 4.2, and this is how we throw it a lot.
That's interesting.
And we're actually going to do a collaboration here probably soon and get your hands on it. At the grand opening at Sharp Hook Bait and Tackle, there was a chance to win some of these.
Yes, I saw that on Facebook.
I've already seen one about 9 pounds caught on it. And my first fish ever, though, it wasn't 9 pounds. But I'll take the 3 1/4 that I caught.
I would take one of those any day.
But for buzz baiting, Thresher, this is how I like to throw a buzz bait a lot too. We use my white timber craw.
Okay, so that's the timber craw there.
That's the timber craw.
What tell us a little bit about the timber craw, because that's another one of my favorites.
Yeah. So did you happen to have a picture?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you want to pull that up?
There's a timber craw there.
Okay. I had my little flair to it by putting our logo on it for the arms, but
gotta have the pizzazz.
So like a lot of my baits and even the Thresher you just saw, I include the ribs. That's if you want to use the scent or if you want to skin hook it or text pose it. What I wanted to do was create a cylindrical body. So the same all the way around. I wanted to make sure I could hold a big flipping hook. If you, Presley, what's your guess of where I like to fish it by calling it timber craw?
I feel like just by the name, you might be fishing a little bit of wood with it,
Oh,
but that might be wrong. I'm not sure.
no, that's it. That's it. So
Wow.
what
I'm
I
sorry.
did, I flipped a lot of wood on the river a lot with it was on Old Hickory. Um, and I noticed I was flipping rodents and stuff and beavers, but what I noticed a lot of times my hook just would not stay put.
Yep.
Nothing against them. They're great baits, man. I'll never knock a company. They're great baits. Um, but if I hit a log or hit a little twig or something, I'm poking hook through constantly. Or if I'm setting a hook, I'm ripping through the middle of it and I got to throw in another bait.
Yep.
Uh, so fantastic baits, but I was just getting tired of getting hung, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure there was plenty of plastic to hold a big hook. I can still get that hook point out depending on the gear I'm using, right? So we're not throwing this on. I'm not flipping wood with a spinning rod. You got to make sure you have the right gear. But I
Definitely.
wanted that hook to stay in place.
Yep.
So if you don't have enough plastic right there where the barb is, you're just going to be punching through it every little leaf and twig um and a lot of guys, well, this is actually a flipping hook. As you can see, it's setting up. You don't have to come all the way out, but guys like to flip the wide gap hooks, right?
Yep.
So again, you put that in the ribs. So
Yeah. I honestly, I rarely actually throw a flipping hook. Even when I'm flipping, I like a wide gaps. Just,
yep.
everybody has their preference, right?
Mhm.
And again, the timber crawl with the ribs holds it perfect where you can expose it and it works flawlessly. Um, and I feel like there's a little bit of a misconception around the timber crawl, and I think you might know where I'm going with this.
Yep.
But and me and John have worked several shows together, like the East Tennessee Fishing Expo, and people will come up and they'll say, "Man, this thing doesn't have a lot of action. The claws aren't kicking." And John, tell us why. Tell us why it's
Okay.
designed that way.
Okay. So everyone knows what the rage tail is, right?
Yep.
And everyone knows what the rodent or a beaver. I wanted to go in between them, right? So the way I designed this, first of all, when it's pulled out of the pack, the discs and these little four lines here are actually put together in the pack. If you look there, there's like right at where the discs are, those are connected, and there's four little lines on the arms, the pinchers that are connected. So I wanted to do that. You can keep that together and throw it more of like a beaver style. It's gonna flare out a little bit, but it's not gonna have kick. If you
Right.
detach it at the disc and those four little spots, it kicks when you pull it.
Yep.
If
What?
you're creating the motion, that's when you want it to kick. Because when I flip wood, I flip it and I wanted a tube style. I wanted to collapse and I want it to drop down for the initial reaction bite.
Right.
If it doesn't, I pop it, then you're kicking.
Yep.
That
And
makes sense?
oh yeah, no doubt. And kind of like a testament to that is I throw this thing all the time on the back of a swim jig. And the Alabama shake. You're sitting there shaking that thing, and every time you pop it, those little tails just flutter.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever it's fall, like if you kill it and it falls, they just flutter down. And it's like the perfect, especially if the fish are a little bit finicky, like they're wanting the crawl more than a paddle tail.
Mm-hmm.
And those little tails or crawls, whatever you call them. What is the technical term? Is it crawls, claws, tails?
Probably claws.
Claws. Okay. The little claws, they're not kicking hard like a swim bait or like a rage crawl would.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just barely, it's like they flutter almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it just drives the fish nuts.
And when I flip out a Texas rig or something, I wanted to get to the bottom.
Yep.
For me.
Yeah.
Because the rage tail, which is great, it'll slow it down, and that's fine. But when I'm flipping wood, I want to dive bomb, and if there's any minnows in it, I want the minnows to scatter. I want to dive bomb and hit that bottom and kick the mud out or whatever, and they react to it. So that's
Gotcha.
what I was shooting for when I created that. Because
Okay.
people be like, "Oh, those claws look like they really kick." And I never say, if you pull it, like if you want to pull it. Another thing I love to do is throw a wobble head. And so I like to throw the timber craw on the wobble head. And sometimes I leave them all connected because I just kind of want it to float around, as one big unit. Or you slow roll it like the Biffle style and walk it on the gravel, and it's going to kick. It's going to do a little scurry. And if you're wondering how the kick would be if it's not the Rage Tail, I would say it kicks like the Zoom Speed Craw.
Yeah, that's very comparable for
Yeah,
sure.
and it still moves water. Like if you buzz it across the top. Matter of fact, I used to buzz it across the top weightless, but
Oh yeah, I bet that would be good.
that's a little side note. But this is probably one of my favorite ways to throw a buzzbait, though. One of them is I pull off those little pinchers and I throw no skirt and I throw the timber craw, and that kicks. It'll kick because you are putting the motion in.
Right.
So think about the timber craws when you're doing the motion. So like when I punch it, because Chickamauga, I'll be punching it.
Yep.
When I punch it, I want it to go through, and then I can yo-yo it.
Yep. We had a tournament on Nickajack last year, and I'd never really got on a good punching bite, but I put a green pumpkin timber craw on, and I started catching some fish, and I kind of got a little bit of confidence in punching a new technique, but that I've never really done before. So definitely a good punching bait. And it seems.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Preston.
It seems to go through the grass. It's got the cylindrical body, and it doesn't have the super wide appendages too. Goes right through.
Yep. It'll just collapse and follow wherever, if you got a big 1 ounce or an ounce and a half, it's going to collapse behind it. And that's why I call it the timber craw. It dive bombs.
Yep.
So it's going to just collapse. And if you need to get, like I said, if you're punching the really thick stuff, you can pop these little sidearms off,
Yep.
It's like a rocket.
Yeah.
And don't throw those away. You tear it up enough. Ethan, if he was on here a little longer, he loves putting them on the back of a jig.
Yeah, that's another good way. Mm-hmm. And a jig trailer. That's a good one. We'll go through a couple comments here.
Yeah.
Gary Reddick said, "It's one of the best baits. One of my baits I have tied on every tournament. It's a fish catching machine." I think he was talking about the 4.0.
Yeah, and I think he says, I think he needs it. He's probably talking about Ron Holt and the shirt.
Oh, yes, the shirt. That's right. He does need it. Gary Reddick is our Mount Juliet fishing coach. Another comment from Landon Farms. Is it true that Torrent pro staffers call you Shay Nelly for short?
No.
Not true. Not true.
I don't think so.
Oh, man, that's great. Grayson said he loves catching them on the 4.0.
Awesome.
A good question. How long does it take from your bait to from go to design to the shelf?
Well, I can tell you in real time right now because we are in the process.
Okay.
The way it goes is I am fishing and I go, I need that in my life. And so I go home and I start drawing. And I draw. And then when I feel like I like the design, then I start speccing it. I get on here. I got my draw book here. So let me see if I have it here. Oh, I can't. There's some things I can't show.
Some secrets in there.
So look at, what does that look like?
4.0.
That's the Striker 4.0.
So you're a little bit of an artist.
Well, don't give me too much credit, but look at this.
Yep, there it is. I think I remember getting a picture of that whenever you were coming out with it.
So I design, I measure it all out.
Yep.
And I do the paddle tail off the side. This is a top view. I think about, I want to stay on the question. So,
okay.
So right now, so I spec'd out a prototype, the next lure. And then what I do is I work with software engineers, and that's back and forth a little bit, depending if they nail it right away. Because sometimes going from paper to 3D drafting you start seeing it differently from a 2D to a 3D. Then you start thinking, that's not thick enough, or ooh, that's not long enough.
Yep.
So the process goes a lot quicker if you nail it the first time.
Right. Yep.
So what it is, I drew it up. I worked with 3D software. We got a 3D sketch of it, and then we have a sample mold made. And then I get the sample mold, which I did, and I get about 20 or 30 of them, and right away I knew it was too skinny. So now I have 20 or 30 of these lures that I did catch bass today with them, but
Okay.
but they're just not what I wanted. But they still catch fish. But
Yeah.
but so then I have to go back and I said, hey, we need to make this wider here, longer here, and that process will usually take anywhere from 2 weeks to a month.
Okay.
Just kind of getting what I dreamed of to my hand.
Yeah.
Once it's in my hand, and this is the key, like my guys, we have our own page. My team guys, I show them pictures, we talk about it. That's one of the incentives of being on the team, is part of what goes on in my brain. And I talk to them about different colors. And matter of fact, I showed them one of the colors it's going to be in, and they all were like, that's it. Oh, I like that. Thumbs up. So then once I'm good with the sample, which I'm not yet, so I went back to the drawing board, and so they're working on the sample mold right now, and I'll get a new sample. So that's going to be another couple weeks because of the hiccup. So you're going to say anywhere from drawing to getting the samples how you want them can go from 1 to 2 months.
Okay. So really not as long. I mean, to me, it's not as long as you would think.
Now that would be what you want from paper to holding it. Okay. Then you got to go into the testing. You know what I mean? So there's a difference between, so when the timber craw, you see this timber craw right here? There was a time where I said the pinchers at a certain spot were too weak. Matter of fact, I'll show you. If you look at the timber craw, if you look close enough, it's rounded right here.
Yeah.
In the middle, it's rounded right here. Let me see if I can turn it so you can try to do this.
There you go.
It's rounded where it splits right here.
Okay.
At first it wasn't. And I was catching fish and it was splitting because it was a sharp. See, I didn't think about that. It was a sharp connection like this. So anytime it'd go like that, the plastic just splits off. Split.
Yeah.
If I didn't test that, a lot of complaints.
Right.
As they should have.
Yeah.
As I did. So then I said, no, we can't do this. I added just a little curve. So like now when you're curving it, it doesn't have that weak spot where it's going to just split.
Right. Yeah.
So what I'll be doing, and here by how I'm going to test it, will give you kind of a lead into what kind of bait it's going to be. So when I get the new prototype in, I will be taking a little trip to Dale Hollow.
Okay. Is that a hint?
It's a hint.
That's a hint. Okay.
And we know the controversy, and there's another hint.
Another hint. Okay.
So
no more hints. We can't be giving away too much, right?
I'm an open book.
Open book.
To a degree. So to answer your dad's question, or Lanham Farms, I don't know if you want them to know that's your dad or not.
Same guy.
So then after that testing phase could be another month or two. If we really test it, then I go into production, and that will take another month or two. So you're looking at a solid half year from the time I draw it to the time it's on Torn Outdoors website.
Gotcha. We've got another good question from young Grayson Sanford. How many do you I think he means like how many do you order whenever you make an order? Or
Yep. Like, so I usually do about 5,000 units at a time.
So is that
single
5?
unit.
like baits, each individual plastic. Okay.
per color if I want. And I like to tell people my emphasis is the design. So I'm the designer, and then I love the fish. So I knew to get in this game, I couldn't, and more power to him, I couldn't sit in a shed and pour my baits. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
That's not something I want to do. Matter of fact, the genesis of the company, I tried it and I realized real quick that I wanted to go fishing.
Yep.
So the coolest part for me was draw it, test it, fish it, and try to win some money with it.
Yeah, that's right.
And make some money selling it, So
Yeah.
it's cool.
For sure. Talking about the genesis of Torn Outdoors, what gave you the idea to start this whole thing up? From the beginning.
Oh, well, the beginning actually started when I was a kid. So
Way back.
every summer I'd go to our family cabin in northern Wisconsin. And I've been doing that every year of my life. They took me on year one. So I've gone to this cabin for 40 years in a row. I know I look like 50, but I'm only 40. Okay, maybe the beard and the white hair will make me look 50, but 40 years I've been doing that. And hey,
Yeah.
since I was a little kid, I've been drawing lures. I've been making up Frankenstein lures. I take a shad wrap, a jointed shad wrap, cut the back off, put a hook, and put a twister tail.
That doesn't sound terrible.
It caught fish. And
wow.
Let me tell you, I drew musky lures when I was a kid. And I wish I could make these. And I promise you, years later, they made those baits. I'm not saying they copied me. I'm just saying I was thinking. I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I always loved to do stuff with lures. I tinker. I drew a lot. And then when I was a teacher at McGavick, we had 3D printers, and I worked with some students, and we would have fun drawing stuff and put in 3D art, and we would print them off on a 3D printer.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And then I would say I started fishing lures, and I was finding different lures, and I thought to myself, I wish it did this. And I was like, man, I wish this one was a little thicker here. Yep. And I wish I could fish this with this in mind. Then I finally decided, you know what? Let's look for people that want to partner up with me, and let's get what I have in my mind to casting.
That's awesome. So when was your very first lure? What lure was it? Your very first drawn out production lure?
Well, the Striker 4.0.
Okay.
So just like everything in the fishing industry, there's things that are always similar.
Yeah.
And there was some stuff that I saw out there, and there was another bait I had called the Stone Roller, which was another swim bait. And again, I looked at them, I liked them, but I was like, man, I got to do something different. So that's when Striker 4.0, and matter of fact, I don't know if my dad's watching, but when I designed this bait, I wanted to make sure it fit a 3/0 hook. My dad loves to throw Texas rig with a 3/0 hook. Yep. So I had to make sure that this had enough body for my dad to put a 3/0 hook. That's what sons do, right, Presley?
That's right. That's right.
Take care of our pops.
Sure do.
So, the Striker 4.0 was the originator.
The original, the very first one.
Yeah, and again, rib baits, ring baits, they've been out. I mean, I just try to add a little flair here and there. I add the little stingers, the little teardrop. I'd like to add the head with the little T's on it. If you look at my worms, my Striker 4.0 and 6.0, there's little capital T's on the top for Torrent. In case someone wants to knock me off, I'm going to just say, hey, what does that T represent?
Yep, that's right.
Just to see,
That's great. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot. This is just a solid one. I mean, they're all solid, to be honest. But we've got the Striker 4.0, but we also have its big brother, the Striker 6.0.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about this guy right here.
Yeah, if you were to actually set them next to each other, you'd be like, man, they almost are the same, but they're a little different.
Yeah.
And if if you think about the 4.0, you're usually going to use it for like a finesse jig trailer or chatterbait, or you're going to use it like on a wide Ned head wide gap hook, or you're going to use it like a drop shot, right?
Yep.
When I looked at wanting to do a bigger version of the Striker 4.0, I thought to myself, what would I do mostly with it? And I thought to myself, I want to flip it. I've never actually fished a Florida tournament, but I watched a lot of Florida tournaments. And what do they flip a lot? They flip a stickworm.
Yep.
They flip a big stickworm. And so I wanted to create, a good size stickworm, but I didn't want to make just your average stickworm. Yamamoto makes a stickworm, and it's the best one on the market. But he has it with salt, and if you throw it weightless, it's going to give you your shimmy. So I wanted to create something that had a different mentality. I wanted something that had, good body, can throw a big hook. You can throw bigger hooks on it, and I wanted to be able to flip it.
Yeah.
Okay, because you might be flipping down a bank. You got one guy flipping a jig or a creature type bait or the timber craw, and then if you flip a worm behind them, you can back clean up.
Yeah, for sure.
And another thing I do a lot with it is, you ever done that before?
I was doing it. We went to Okeechobee, Florida this February, and I actually caught some doing that.
So if you notice, the difference of heads is probably the major difference.
Yes.
Yes. The 6.0 has a flat head right here. And the reason I did that was if you're doing like a shaky head, you can snug it up real nice and tight. And this is actually, I don't know if you heard of this. This is a friend of mine I actually used to travel with and fish the Bassmaster Weekend series with. And it's called Line Stretchers. Okay. And he's got himself a nice little, you can see the football head.
Yep.
And a nice hook here. And it's a streamlined hook, it's not a wide gap. So that's perfect for this worm because you still got plenty of bite. You notice, and you notice it's still stuck.
Yep.
Because you skin hook it, but I wanted to be able to snug it up real good. A lot of people use the screw locks for shaky heads.
Yeah.
So that they usually do what? Bite it off, put it on. Well, this is ready to go. You just put it on. And another thing, when I flip it, I peg my weight a lot of times. Just snug it up. So
yeah, that's one of my favorite things about the 6.0, and Trevor knows this too. We've been throwing it a lot out deep on a big shaky head. Apex makes a shaky head with a screw lock. The Bane structure head, that's what we use a ton, and that it has kind of it's almost like a block head. It's just solid plastic. It's flat on the top. It holds that screw lock perfect. Mm-hmm. And I just love that about that. And then again, the ribs to expose it. It's just like the all around perfect worm.
And if you get a big screw lock, if you have a skinnier worm, it's gonna be hard to thread it on right. The springs come out the side, or you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
Then if you notice the head there, see, even with this, this is, I think, from Z-Man. It snugs up. You put that weight in for the Nico.
Yeah.
And you can tap that rock, tap, tap, tap.
Yep.
But also, if you want, that little section in the head's about an inch. So if you want to go Striker 6.0 to 5.0, you just bite that head off, and there you go.
You got the middle size there.
Mm-hmm.
So you fish as a kid, always thought about, making baits, and you had all these ideas in your head, and now you've got them out on the market. Mm-hmm. Where are some of the places that people can purchase some baits?
The main thing we do is torrentoutdoors.com. Just our name, torrentoutdoors.com. And we ship them all over the United States. I dropped off some today, or going to Florida. The Florida market is picking up on this.
Okay.
And a big shout out. There's a kayak trail that I sponsor. There's been a lot of big fish caught on my baits. So just a heads up, Florida is catching on. Then we have Anderson Marine. Anderson Marine has been a big supporter of me and the company since the get-go. They've been one of my sponsors when I do, my fishing and traveling. With the Yamaha SHO on the back of my Skeeter, Torrent Outdoors Battleship.
The Battleship.
Ray and Joy Anderson Marine, top notch, been taking care of me forever. And my lures are the only lures in that at Anderson Marine. So a lot of, and you know this, Anderson support a lot of the high school fishing and junior fishing teams.
They do, yeah.
Even
Ray and Joy they're great people, and they really support the high
Mhm.
school trail, and they do so much for us that a lot of people don't even see. And a huge shout out to those guys. They keep us on the water. Just me personally too. I mean, I feel like I'm in there before every tournament, getting the graph fixed or getting an electrical issue fixed. It's always something whenever you're out traveling so much, and those guys always take good care of us.
Yep. And then there's a new bait shop in Hendersonville called Sharp Hook Bait and Tackle. Matter of fact, we just had the grand opening last Saturday.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
John and his wife are great people. They're really nice to me because you open the door, the whole first section is Torn Outdoors.
There you go. There you
go. Big shout out to the local community, Presley. I mean, and I've been really trying to invest in the local community, and they probably see me way too much in the local fishing pages, but man, I'm just trying to celebrate fishing and encourage people to fish and have a good time. And I'm no Kevin Van Dam, but I know I love to fish, and I've been doing it a long time. And I felt like I put out products that people could experience success with. So
definitely.
I that's why. And I'll tell you what, when we have the Wilson County Fishing and Boat Expo, the community showed up like you wouldn't believe. And another big supporter of mine is Brian Carper's Guide Service.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what really helps selling lures at an expo is having Brian drop 26 pounds on Priest the day before using my Thresher 4.2.
That's a pretty good advertisement there.
Yep. And let me say, I was about 20 minutes late, and there was about 25, 30 people waiting at my booth without me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Sold well over 500 packs of the Thresher 4.2.
That's insane. That's awesome.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's not like, trying to be big headed. That's saying the support of the local community has been fantastic.
Absolutely.
And I haven't planned on expanding to other bait shops, but I'm starting to get the requests.
I don't doubt it. Whenever Brian caught that 26, for those of you that don't know or have never been on Percy Priest or don't know anything about it, 26 pounds is pretty much unheard of. That's a big bag. And that's a big bag for anywhere, but for Priest is absolutely unheard of. And they were caught on 4.2s, which is awesome. And Brian does a little bit something different too on his A rig. And it's actually a bait. I don't even know if we talked about it yet tonight, but I could be wrong, but he puts the 6.5 in the middle, doesn't he?
He has before.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
He does that. That's one of the tricks he'll do once in a while.
So is that really key in on a big bite, or does it just help him hone in on a certain one? Or
and you got to think too, the A rig. I mean, they're starting to get conditioned
for sure.
Especially if you're like if it's like later spring when they've seen them over their heads 100 times.
Yeah.
And thanks to the forward facing sonar, I watch how many don't bite my A rig.
Yes. I know your pain.
But you throw that big bait on there, and you can give them something different.
Absolutely.
And I think, did I say that right? I think he caught 26 pounds. I'm pretty sure it was 26. I know it was a pair. He had a pair of 6.5 pounders. I know that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so all in the Thresher 4.2. As a matter of fact, we fished a couple tournaments together, and we caught them all in the Thresher 4.2s.
Wow.
But he's an affiliate with us, so I support him in his guides, and he supports me, and he's a good friend of mine, great Christian family man. We've done Bible studies together. And if you guys, whoever's listening to this, if you want to go learn some stuff, get Brian Carper out there. He's a good dude. And his guy.
Definitely.
Picked up Chris Snow too. And Chris Snow is a local hammer for years. And so great people.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of local hammers, at the Sharp Hook, the grand opening, I believe you had some of your pro staffers there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you actually mentioned one of them earlier, Brady Duncan. he fished for Carson Newman. He
Mhm.
went to college. He's been doing good, and he's actually stepped up fishing the Toyota Series this year.
Mhm.
And Brady's a good buddy of mine. Super good dude, and he actually just had a pretty good finish on Old Hickory in the BFL, didn't he?
Mhm.
Okay,
He finished 9th. And that's a tough group of people to be fishing against.
it
And
is
if you've never fished a 2-day tournament, that's a tough gig, especially on Old Hickory.
absolutely.
You gotta be on your A game to get
Yep.
a multi-day tournament's a whole different ball game. And Presley,
Yep.
I'm sure you can attest to that.
It is, especially. I don't know if I've ever fished a 2-day on Old Hickory, and I'm not sure if I'm up to the challenge because it's a main lake. I mean,
Oh,
it's a different world every day.
yeah, you can get on those schools of fish once in a while, but you can't get one day they're pulling water and you're catching them in the river. The next day you better run somewhere else,
Yep, that's
So,
right. That's right. Um, so Brady he had a solid finish in the BFL, and I pulled a fast one on you earlier. We had Ethan pop in when we didn't really tell you about it, but Brady's been sitting backstage too. So
oh, look at this guy.
Brady, tell us a little bit about the BFL this weekend. I mean, tell us about it. Here, I think you might be muted. Oh man. Technical difficulties. Hold momentarily. We can't hear you, Brady. There you go. Well, no, can't hear you. Nothing.
Nothing.
I think I fixed it.
Yep.
There
There
you
you go.
All right. You had me messed up. I think that's what it was. You had me muted the whole time.
Oh, my bad.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, looking back on the BFL, it was a good time. I mean, it's Old Hickory in the fall. I'm
Yep.
sure anyone listening's probably been there. But yeah, it was a great time. I was able to capitalize on my day one and fell a little short on day two, but that's how it goes. Like y'all were talking about, it's a tough time to fish a 2-day event on Old Hickory.
It is. Yep. Brady, you fish college series, and college has a ton of boats, right?
Yeah.
The college fields are stacked too. There's some hammers. What was one of your favorite? Was it the 6.0, the 4.0, the 4.2? When the times were pressured, on let's say a tough one like Lake Dardanelle, like y'all go to every year. What was your favorite? What was your go-to to pick up an extra bite or two?
Man, I always found myself throwing the 4.0, which I always did it differently than a lot of people. And a bunch of guys back at school always made fun of me, but I threw it on the baby Carolina rig all the time.
Man,
That's when I throw it, that's how I throw it. And it gets bit. And when I need a bite, that's what I turn to.
Mm.
I'm adding that to my list of
Oh.
baits. Never done it.
I can
It's awesome.
attest to that. I could not catch smallmouth one time in northern Wisconsin. It was clear water. You could see 12 feet deep. I put on a Carolina rig with a 4-foot leader with a mean green, and I started smacking tanks.
Yep.
Man.
It's a split shot rig. But I mean, I still throw it on a spinning rod and everything. I just rig it with a 1/8 ounce weight Texas rig.
Okay.
Mm.
Man, little secret there.
A little bit. Hate to give that one out. It's a spotted bass machine.
Oh, I bet. Wade calls it the petite rig.
Mhm.
Rig, yeah, we talked about that all last weekend at Sharpfoot.
That's definitely getting added to the list of stuff to try. I never even would have thought of that. That's good
That's
stuff.
that's an old school thing, man. We used to Carolina rig the little French fries and all kinds of stuff. So
Yep. Juice. Well, Brady, thank you for coming on, giving everybody a little nugget of information there that is definitely going to go out and catch some fish for some people, I'm sure. Thanks for coming on and spilling the info. One last thing. It's Old Hickory. It's tough right now. What would be one tip to go out and catch fish on Old Hickory tomorrow? Let's say tomorrow.
Man, I mean, unlike previous years or ever since I've been alive, there's finally like grass back in the lake now. And I've been catching 99% of my bass out of the grass, throwing a shaky head and a swim jig, I pair the timber crawl on my swim jig. That's that and
Yep.
buzz. And I've just been in the grass. The high
The
drill has been,
grass.
yep.
Go to the grass. Got it. I think there's a TBF high school tournament on Old Hickory this weekend. So if you're listening and you're fishing that tournament, listen to Brady because he just was it a 9th place finish?
9th place.
9th place in the Super BFL. So this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yes, he does.
Brady, thank you for coming on, giving us a little information. Good luck going into the Toyota Series. That's a big step. We know you're going to kill it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun year next year.
No doubt. Thanks again, Brady. See you, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you.
See you, Brady. You keep surprising me, Presley.
I don't think I have any more surprises. I think there's nothing else in my hat for tonight. Who knows? I might have something. I'm just kidding. So the future of Torn Outdoors, what's it looking like? Tell us a little about what it's looking like going forward. Do you have any ideas or just going with the flow?
Well, I do have some ideas. We are slowly transitioning all our packaging. If you notice, our packaging is, I actually created the packaging for shipping purposes. See that? There's no hangers.
Yeah.
And so that makes it difficult when you put them at like different bait shops. For them, they got to like punch holes and sometimes turn them different ways. And so eventually, and it seems like a minor detail, but it's a big detail. Eventually, we're going to cross over to this where there is a hanger.
Yep. Okay.
So the Thresher was my latest lure, knowing that I was going to start going that way. And so this eventually will be like this.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's got the little holder.
Got the hanger. And
yeah.
it gives a little bit more bulk, like when you're storing it in your boats. I'm still working on and fine tuning the grips on the plastic so they would close better. My key though is to get you baits that aren't jumbled up. So when you order them from me, I'm trying to get you these to your boat and to your hand without them being all smashed together.
For sure, the clamshells definitely help with that.
Yeah, and it's not a perfect it's not a perfect thing, but I'm doing my best to go from us to you as the bait you ordered. Okay, and I promise you that's what I'm trying to do. So we're slowly transitioning where we can be in more bait shops. I didn't plan to get in bait shops this early, but when you got a bait shop or 2 or 3 that closed down in your area, and there's one that's finally going to open, you're gonna support them. They're local. You want them to thrive. You want the community to support them. And I wanted to jump on it. And I'm really thankful. He told me that I'm one of the top 3 maybe selling. So that's a big shout out to the local communities for
absolutely
me. If you're wondering how big my workforce is, it's I'm a family of 6. So, and one's a baby and one's 4. So I got about 3 other workers.
Yep. Hey, and you can't count out Nora and Kaya. They put in the work at the expos. They sell them. I think they can do a better job explaining everything than I can.
They're pretty good, and it's a big part of what I feel like as a father I need to be doing. I need to be showing them how to talk to people, look people in the eye, how to work hard, how to contribute to something. So that's one of the areas we're going into. We're moving more in tackle shops, and I'm not big into just going somewhere and trying to pitch it. I'm hoping that people around there are fishing it and they start talking about it, and then I get the requests. Hey, can we make an order with Torn Outdoors?
For sure.
I am in the process of releasing a new bait, so we're growing. And then I also have another bait on the books. So we're looking at 2 new lures. And that's my promise to you is when I put them out, those are it's coming off my drawing book. So
like you showed earlier, I mean, they're hand drawn drawings. I just think that is so cool. That's
I mean,
awesome.
we try to do that, you know, you got this and then you get this
Yep, there it is.
from the brain to paper for you to fish.
There you go, right there. And I believe you have a new color coming out too, and another bait.
Yes. Yes. If you notice, I have no more than 4 colors with any type of bait. And the reason is because my emphasis is on design and I want to make sure it gets in people's hands and they're usually your staple colors first. Once in a while I get flashy, like with the Blue Lightning or the Good Morning.
Yep.
But the Timber Craw has a green pumpkin, has a white, and it has a black and blue, right? So you got your white for your trailers, buzz baits, or flipping on beds.
For sure.
And then you got your green pumpkin, black and blue, the top 2 selling colors of any bait, right? Well, then that little color called Lazy Gill in the Striker 4.0 is one that I love to throw.
Me too.
I love to flip the Timber Craw. So the Timber Craw will be coming out in Lazy Gill.
So you'll have this bait.
Yep.
In this color.
Yes.
Man, I'm excited. I'm so excited. I think Mean Green was at the top for me in the 4.0, but Lazy Gill, when you came out with that color, that one took the cake for sure. And it's my fishing partner Trevor. He loves it too, and he throws that thing all the time.
When you get around smallmouth, put a little orange on that teardrop.
There you go. It's good stuff.
But just be patient with me. You know, I'm a small company. I do everything in house with just running it. So I don't have anyone on staff. We're just doing it, and we're getting a lot of sales in. So be patient with me. If we run out with something, we're working on it. We're working on our systems. So
awesome. Definitely been successful with the new Sharp Hook opening. Looks like y'all had some great sales. You know, just a super cool. To me, it was just so awesome that we have a new bait shop, a local bait shop opening in the area. You know, right there close to Old Hickory, which is so cool to me. And if you're around there, it's Hendersonville, right?
Yep.
Hendersonville, Tennessee. You can go pick some up Monday through Friday, I assume.
I think he might even be open every day.
Okay.
He's got a Facebook page called Sharp Hook Bait and Tackle. It's probably about a half mile to a mile away. You know, the bridge over the back of Drake's Creek?
Yeah.
I mean, you go past that heading towards Rivergate area, you'll be there. It's an old car dealership, but man, it looks beautiful. And Big Jim, have you heard of Big Jim?
Of course. I mean, he's
Big Jim. I'm gonna give a shout out to Big Jim. He just I think it released today at 5:00. His intro, he did a little walkthrough there.
Yes, I saw that.
So if you guys want to see the new bait shop, you haven't seen it, go check out Big Jim Fishing. And he on his YouTube, and he did a little walkthrough. I was there. Some of my team members were there, and you get to see how we are set up.
Awesome. Wade said 6 to 6 daily.
Okay.
For Sharp Hook Bait and Tackle. And right. Craig Sanford says he loves it. So you gotta listen to Craig, right?
You gotta listen to Craig, man.
You gotta listen to Craig. That's gonna be my new motto.
And they got food like right next door too. So I mean, you can get some Chinese food and Little Caesars as you're, looking at gates. You can't beat that, man.
Oh yeah, you gotta have some food when you're bait shopping. Can't go on an empty stomach.
Wow. Live bait too. They sell live bait too.
Live bait. Yep. Lanham Farms, how's the egg business?
Man, we're killing it.
Explain what that is.
I got 11. So we homeschool, and my 11-year-old has her own egg business. She has 31 chickens, and she's selling eggs like crazy. Maybe the IRS isn't listening, but But they are. No, but she's doing a good job. It's part of what she does for homeschooling, and she's learning that if you work hard and you take care of these chickens, they produce and they give back to you. And so, um, we're eating fresh eggs every morning, and she's selling those things like hotcakes. And she reinvests. She learned, at 11 years old, she's running her own business and learning that there's overhead and things. It's going good. It's going good.
That's awesome. What are they business?
I just made a wicked egg casserole the other day, last night. Oh,
awesome.
Had about a dozen fresh eggs with cheese and hash browns and sausage. Oh.
Is that speaking of food, what's your go-to snack on the boat?
From Aldi, I get these turkey snack sticks, like meat sticks.
Okay. So kind of like a Slim Jim kind of.
Yeah, like a Slim Jim. And for years when I fish with my buddy, he's always like, "You got them meat sticks?"
Got the meat sticks.
They're just, you pound them. I mean, you're driving or fishing because as well as I do, sometimes you forget to eat.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that's so important to eat a little something, drinks a lot of water. But I would say that the meat sticks are always a go-to for me. Hopefully it's gonna be deer jerky soon because I got a nice buck on the trail cam.
There you go. Some deer and egg breakfast.
Mm.
What's your breakfast before a tournament? What are you going for, or do you even eat anything?
Oh no, I try to get up early enough to make a fresh egg sandwich with a farm fresh egg. So I brew 8 cups of coffee. I heat up the cast iron skillet, and I make myself a double egg breakfast sandwich. Drink about half, 4 cups, and then put 4 more cups in it to go.
There you go. That's it. Ready for the day.
Ready for the day.
If you run low on the water, look up Ron Holt Bait and Tackle. He has a mobile torrent shop right on his boat.
Hey, you got to ask Ron about the pack of 80 I gave him one time. What happened to him?
Oh my goodness, there's no telling. We still got to get him a shirt. We got to get him a shirt.
We were fishing a tournament together.
Okay.
And I gave him a big, good size pack of 4.0s, and I'm pretty sure they blew past his head.
Oh my goodness.
Good thing he knew a guy.
Yeah, I think you might know a guy.
We cashed a check that day, me and Captain Ron.
Did you?
Yeah, Percy Priest in end of July.
Oh man.
Yep. Guess what? I caught him on a little tungsten with a little timber craw on the back.
There you go.
Guess what he was doing?
I can't guess. Couldn't guess. There it is. I think he probably has a 4.0 in his hand 90% of the time.
I bet you he's got it tatted on his shoulder.
Probably. I think he actually has a custom rod 440 that says Ron Holt on it.
No, I believe it. And if you know where me and Captain Ron Holt met?
I don't.
I was working for Anderson Marine in 2014, and before he was a fisherman, I sold him his first skeeter.
Boom.
So
there you go.
That's my contribution to fishing. I gave y'all Ron Holt.
We appreciate it.
I hope Ron's listening.
I hope he is. If he's not, we'll send this to him.
Yes, thanks, Captain Ron. Thanks for all the support for all these years, man. He's always mentioned how awesome my kids are, and has always been a huge supporter, Torn Outdoors, and all you guys fishing.
Absolutely, Ron's a good dude. He sure is. Well, John, thanks for coming on tonight. You explained all the every bait, the ins and outs of everything. I mean, I think some people definitely learned some stuff. If you were learning anything, and you like what John's selling, go over to torrentoutdoors.com and pick you up some, or Hendersonville at Sharp Hook Bait and Tackle. You can go pick some stuff up there. Thank you again, John, for coming on. Absolutely. We really appreciate it.
I'm honored. I'm honored that you had me as a guest. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Anytime. We'll definitely have you back.
You got an awesome future ahead of you. You keep doing your thing, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll always be in your corner.
Thank you. I'll always be throwing a 4.0. All right. Well, guys, thank you for joining me and John and our two special guests, Ethan and Brady, tonight. Thank you for hopping on. We appreciate it. Join us back next week for another podcast at 7:30 Central Time, Monday again. Looking forward to it. We've got another great guest that I'll post about later in the week. Hope you guys have a great night and a good rest of your week. Thank you, guys.